Good morning. Good morning. It is Sunday, February 8th. The world is still on metaphorical fire. And yeah, we're here. I know, I'm sorry. I know I should be more upbeat and everything. Good morning. Let me know in the chat if you're here. I could see a few of you waiting in the waiting room. I think I've turned everything on. What did I forget last time that it went awry? I can't remember. It was the first time on a new channel. I think I've got it all. Camera's on. We're streaming. Mic is on. I've forgotten something. Morning. Morning, Shane. Lovely to have you. I think it's all working. So, stream health is excellent, is what YouTube is telling me. I have excellent stream health. Thank you very much. So my prostate's fine. How your morning, Malcolm? Morning. Good to have you all here. Yeah, so I'm so sorry. I might be a little bit deflated. So I was filming, as you know, for like the last 2 weeks. Well, it was on and off for the last 2 weeks, but 2-week contract. And I don't get to film acting as much as I would like to film acting. I love acting. In fact, acting was always my first love. It's funny. I always say people are like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a stand-up." But when I'm in the acting world, they go, you'll go, "What do you do when you're not acting?" Because of course, actors then they're bartenders or they're baristas or whatever. And I was always like, "Oh no, my day job's I'm a stand-up." And then when I'm in between acting, morning, Kevin. Kevin, you're over on the Patreon. Do you want to join us on the old YouTube chat? Otherwise, you're welcome to stay on the Patreon. Let me just stick my phone up so I can see your comments as well. But anyway, I did the acting job and it was absolutely lovely. And I can't tell you what it was, although James is guest. But it will be out later this year. It was an episode of just a BBC daytime thing. But I just got really lucky in that everybody who was cast was super lovely. The regular cast, super lovely. We filmed in this most amazing place called Ragley Hall in Ulster, which is sort of near Warwick. It's Ulster, Alcester, Ulster. And it's a beautiful, beautiful country seat. The family still live in it, but it's all completely, you know what I mean? Like, it's completely done. So I bet they must have film crews in there every other week just filming Bridgerton style stuff because it's just a stunning home. And yeah, it was wonderful. But I did come back, as you know, I'm autistic, and I did come back on Wednesday and absolutely collapsed because when I film, you're welcome, Kevin. You're welcome, Kevin. When I film, I don't like to eat, which I know seems strange because you're doing these long hours. You get picked up at 6:30 in the morning. You're in the makeup chair at 7. You're on set by 9. We're wrapping at 7, which means you're back in the makeup chair to get everything taken off. And, at 7, so it's longer than 12-hour days. And by the way, just shout out to every hair and makeup person and costume person and crew person, because as hard as it is for me as an actor to do that schedule, when I show up on set at 7 o'clock to get my makeup done, and I'm pretty much like limping in, right? I've rolled out of bed into a tracksuit, into some Crocs, into a car that's waiting for me, and then I drag myself into the chair and I sit there for 90 minutes while they do my face and hair. My hair and makeup lady, shout out to Roxy, she was amazing. She has to get up, get herself to set, dressed, ready to go, professional, like bright, cheery, has had breakfast by 7 o'clock. Whereas when I'm sitting in the chair, they'll come and they go, "Would you like some breakfast? What would you like? How would you like your eggs? Do you want toast with that? Would you like a cup of tea?" Like, it's incredible what they do. And then I go on set, they come with you because they have to do checks and everything in between takes. And then at 7 o'clock when we wrap the filming, I then come back to the hair and makeup trailer, and of course costume is there as well. They have to help me get in and out of it and check for continuity and the rest of it. When I then I have to go back into the hair and makeup trailer and have everything taken off and hair pieces and makeup and everything else. And then I go at 7:30, I get rolled into a car and driven back to my hotel in my tracksuit and Crocs. And then hair and makeup stay behind, and then they fix all the hair pieces and they make it all ready for 7 a.m. the next day. Like, I'm exhausted. They are absolute troopers. Can I just say, I know this is not world news, but this is an insight into a world that we should all be more aware and appreciative. So the next time the Oscars happen and they go best actor, best actress, best director, all of that, you skip that, all right? You skip that. You wait until it gets to best hair and makeup design, best costume, all of that stuff behind the scenes, even the art department. Like the art department, we did a scene with a meal, okay? Which means that they had to first of all, they had to make all this food that sits on the table and looks like food. We would all get served because it's a fancy house, you know, we're all getting served from the left and cleared from the right and everything else. So they had to create, like there was, you know, empty soup bowl, which got cleared at the beginning of the scene, and then a plate with a bread roll on it. And every time I had the same bit of bread roll and knife, and every time we reset for another take, that goes exactly in the same place with the knife pointing in exactly the same direction with the same crust of bread, and the actor next to me had a different crust of bread with a different plate. You know, every little detail is thought about. Every time they put the main course down, and then we sit there as actors and we mess around with it because we're pretending to eat and everything else. They then take it away and they reset that plate so it looks exactly the same. It was like just, I came home on Wednesday and was autistically exhausted, and that is my fault. Like I said, I don't eat when I film. I think it's an adrenaline thing. It's a focus thing. It's a hyper focus. It's an ADHD thing. I like to go in there. I'm not hungry. I'm a stand-up. That's my day job. So first of all, I wasn't going to bed until midnight, 1 a.m. because that's when my brain would finally switch off. Even though I'm getting up at 6:37, which means that I'm using adrenaline and sugar, like Coca-Cola. Shout out to James if he's here. James came to my gig last night and he brought, bless him, an 8-pack of cherry Coke with him. 8-pack of cherry Coke. And I was sitting there just yawning away at the back. This could not get enough oxygen to my body. He's like, "Do you want a can of Coke?" And I went, "I already had one today. I shouldn't have another one." And then eventually he goes, "Are you sure?" And I went, "All right, bring me one." And he brought me one, which actually was my savior. I think it was a better gig for the fact that I put a little bit more sugar in my body. But I don't eat breakfast because I go to bed at 1:30 in the morning. I am not hungry till 12. So I will take breakfast, but I have to then order something that keeps. I'll be like, just give me smoked salmon and 2 hard-boiled eggs and some avocado, and I'll put it in the fridge. Then I'll eat the lunch that they give you. Great catering on this job as well. There's always like nice fish with a sauce and veg and stuff. So you felt like I'm being a good human. By about shoot day 2 or 3, I was bringing Coke with me on set and just going, I'll just have this cheeky little afternoon pick me up. And then by dinner, I was eating breakfast. So I wasn't really eating lots. So anyway, Wednesday came back and I'm still recovering is my point. I'm still recovering from that. But it was a joyous thing. I will, of course, let all of you know. Maybe we'll do a watch party. I don't know. When it comes out. I'm very excited to see it because I'm very grateful, actually. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm very grateful to the producer and the director who both put me down. And there's a lot, you know, and it's not just as simple as you get cast. It's like you get suggested. Somebody says yes, somebody says no. They think about how you would work with everybody else. The execs have final say so. Like, it's just not a simple process to even get cast in anything. Obviously, the more high profile you are, the more likely people will greenlight you. The greater your resume is to prove that you can do it, the more likely you are to get greenlit. So I just got very lucky and very grateful that the series producer knew me from my Radio 4 work. The director knew me from having been in and out of the comedy world. And the exec said yes. But it was a character that they didn't actually have any evidence that I could do. It was a regional character that they just went, well, we knew you'd do something, you know, we knew you. Basically, the director said, let me say this. Director said, we are pleasantly surprised with how well you're doing it because we didn't expect you to do it this well. And I'm like, thank you. But also, excuse me, underestimated. Thank you. But it was a joy. It was an absolute joy. Can't wait for everyone to see it. Want to do more of it. So yeah, if you know any directors, producers, please do just send them my way. Send them my way because I will do the job better than they think I can. that's a bit of joy for the beginning of today's paper jam, because otherwise I was asked to do a Q&A to promote the London show at Leicester Square Theatre of the Rebellion Tour, which is on the 28th of Feb, if any of you want to see it again, because I feel like by now you've all seen it. But if you want to see it again, it's then. But also, if you don't come, that's fine, because I'm strongly considering recording it separately to, like recording it. And there's a venue in Chiswick that I'd quite like to use. So I then need loads of people to just come for the recording and just be happy to see it for the 5th time for some of you. But I was answering this Q&A, and one of the questions in there was, what is one word that you would use to describe the state of the UK right now? And that word is bin fire. I think that's one word, bin fire. It is definitely a bin fire. Somebody said who was it that said to me that somebody said they're not sure that we might ever have a PM live out an entire term again. And it's true, we haven't had. When's the last time a prime minister lasted an entire election cycle? Here we go. Shane, quiz time. Was it Cameron? Did Cameron last an entire election cycle? Or did he go because of... I know we went because of the Brexit referendum. But when did we last... I mean, even Blair's second term, he stepped down for Brown right at the end of it. Was it Blair in his first election cycle? When... we're going through prime ministers like, like not Prince Andrew, the pedophile formerly known as Prince Andrew goes through excuses. I am not on my game, but that's fine. Apologies. We're going to do this. It was Cameron. Right. It was Cameron. Because he did an election cycle and then he left during his second election cycle. And since then, we haven't had a single PM last the whole way through. I know that Starmer wants to. I know that Starmer definitely is just like, I will stay. But no, I'm sorry, mate. You keep messing up. And it will be interesting to see if this is his downfall. Can't say I'm overly thrilled by the way that he's handling it. But let's go back to the beginning of this. I mean, we all know what this is about. This is about the latest tranche of Epstein files that have come out. Over 3 million pages, 2,000 plus videos, 180,000 odd images, all to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, although that's ironic that it's called the Transparency Act because the redacting being done on these files is insane. We are sometimes, as names, addresses, faces of victims are being left in unredacted, but names of people who were probably got something to answer for are being redacted. Simple example, because Beatrice and Eugenie are all over these, they're being mentioned multiple times, primarily because their parents, Andrew and Sarah, were so close with Jeffrey and Maxwell. Ghislaine, they were so close. And so, but even like one of the mentions of the girls was when they were brought to have lunch with him shortly after Epstein was released from prison for being a convicted pedophile. And people keep calling them the girls, and they kept, the girls, bring the girls. And it was Epstein who paid for their flights, by the way, when they all had question whether these girls are also first of all, they are working royals. They have their own jobs, their own families, children, like they're just getting on with life. They do both do a lot of charity work, as do a lot of the royals. So they've set up various charities and things that they work closely with, but they don't work for the royal family. However, their names are everywhere. And one of the examples that I was saying of a crazy redaction is the fact that one of the mentions of the girls is when they were asked to be available to do a tour of Buckingham Palace for a friend of Epstein whose name is Big Black Box. And for some reason, this person's been redacted. But and every article that you read about the Epstein files will say this: being mentioned in the Epstein files does not automatically mean that you have done something wrong. Okay. And I don't think anybody is for a second suggesting that Beatrice and Eugenie are have dirty hands. Although when when you hear that they've also gone for, I guess I wonder if it's like, he was like Uncle Jeffrey that they grew up with. Epstein was Uncle Jeffrey. But if you're Andrew and you definitely know what Jeffrey can do for you, and you are the father of 2 girls, why do you put them in the firing line? Like, Sarah, their mom, I totally write her off. That woman, as we know through Shane, cannot handle her money. Like, she cannot handle her money. She cannot handle herself. She has no self-control. She's like a liquid, and she's only takes shape if you put her in a container. I think she is shameful and shameless, right? So she bringing her daughters to lunch with the man that's going to bail her out again because her credit card got chopped up at HMV. You just go, well, quelle surprise. But Andrew, wouldn't you have thought that if Jeffrey is your go-to for entirely inappropriate things with young women, that you would keep him as far away as possible from your daughters? Anyway, there's a lot of redactions that don't make sense, and it is to protect higher-ups. Loads of higher-ups have been protected by it. And this is part of the thing. Trump has said multiple times already that he has been exonerated by this latest dump. He's like, no, I'm exonerated. See, I didn't do anything wrong. That's not a Trump impression, but we'll go with it. Well, anyway, the things to keep an eye on are all of the, if people fight court case, any court cases that might fight any of these redactions, to see what's left. There's still more to come. There was still more that hasn't been released yet. Whether, we're still going through it. People still going through it. Although, for once, AI is a godsend. There's a website, I think it's called Jmail, if you want to go to it, where somebody has set up all of the emails into like an inbox so that you can sort through it yourself and just basically read it as if you are in Jeffrey's email. Which is interesting. Let's see what else is revealed. It's obviously caused a huge kerfuffle. I mean, these are American papers that have been released. And the papers of an American citizen that's been released in America. But as we know, which we'll come on to, it's already affecting the UK and the stability of our own government because of decisions that Starmer has made, which are unbelievable. But let's see what you all have to say. So Cameron, yes, was the last full PM to do a full election cycle. Brexit binned him, and that was the last one, but Blair also did. Yeah, Blair did one and then retired for Brown. I remember that. The egregious thing is, good word for 11 a.m. in the morning. The egregious thing is that they were clearly redacting Commandant Shitgibbon when words like don't get redacted. They were clearly redacting Commandant Shitgibbon. I mean, can I just say Commandant Shitgibbon is a great... Is that like a 3-word, 3-word place? Is that it? Where's your house? Oh, if you just type in Commandant Shitgibbon, you should find where the party is. Beatrice and Eugenie, only the police pizza delivery. I can read. So the big reveal, again, we knew it, but even bigger reveal is how dirty Mandelson, is that Peter Mandelson? Yeah, Mandelson's pants are, essentially, because he has cropped up in this latest release. Peter Mandelson, I'm not going to say Lord, because he is retired from the house. You just Pete, PDM. He is all over this latest release, and it's very clear that not only did he stay friends with Epstein after he was released, so after we knew for a fact that he is a convicted pedophile, which he, by the way, pled guilty to, all right? He said in order to have a lesser sentence, he said pictures of him in his pants or in a dressing gown, just just being around the island, but apparently not being directly involved, because I'm gay, so he would have kept all of that stuff from me. And I'm like, I don't understand why people haven't yet started to go, well, if he could get young girls for Andrew, I'm pretty sure he would have gotten you a young boy if you'd asked. So I just don't know. I just don't trust, I should say, that we have like scratched the bottom of the surface of this, because there are other rings of trafficking of young men that, again, if you only have to spend half a day on TikTok and you will find all of the victims of other rings of other trafficking. And like, sexual depravity isn't just old dirty rich white men to young women, okay? It's everywhere. And I think it really, because it's about power and control, it isn't about gender and sex. It's just horrific. Excuse me. So Mandelson is way more involved than supposedly he told Starmer he was when he interviewed for the position of ambassador to the U.S. Now, I'm going to hold my hand up here for a second and say that when Mandelson got in trouble back in July, when it all came out initially that he was bestest buddies with Jeffrey, I said, I understand, and I still do understand why, when they needed an ambassador to the U.S., given what Trump was doing around that time. Now, remember, first 6 months, Trump comes in, he starts yelling tariffs, and he starts going, do what I say, and he starts throwing his weight around. And Starmer was looking for a Trump whisperer that he could send over there and maintain the special relationship that the UK has with the US, especially while it's being run by, a dementia patient, allegedly. Dementia patient, right? I'm just saying that to protect my ass in case I ever want to travel there. I mean, a friend of mine, she's just had her Twitter account deleted. Jenna Friedman, Twitter account, gone. Great comedian, really outspoken, love her work. Twitter account, disappeared. And they've not gone, you've broken our guidelines. They've gone, oh, can you not get into it? Well, if you can't access the email that gets into it, I'm really sorry, we can't do anything about that. Like, they've done this really weird thing where it's her fault, so they can't help. Oh, if you don't know your own password, I'm so sorry. But you go, no, you've deleted her, like, you've removed her access to her account, but then claim that it's her fault. Like, talk about gaslighting. Mandy Pants. I like that. Mandy Pants. I mean, it's actually almost not strong enough, but Mandy Pants is good. Shane says Bondi now saying they can't prosecute everybody as it will collapse the system. Oh, yes, but you have to remember that Pam Bondi, one of the reasons that she's so busy is because she's prosecuting everybody that disagrees with them at the moment. So it's hard to prosecute the actual criminals because we're busy fixing elections and, and shooting Americans in the street. And then we need to use the court system to protect those that shot Americans, unarmed Americans in the street, or even those that were armed but never had their weapon drawn and had a legal license to carry a hidden weapon. It's a busy time for the DOJ. The DOJ is constantly, also every time somebody in the justice system is asked to do something like, oh, could you please stop investigating that murder of that unarmed American citizen in your town, then everybody quits. All of the investigators quit because they're like, no, this is not justice. You call yourself the Department of Justice, but we feel and see and are being instructed to do no justice. So, and a lot of people just go, okay, you've seen the papers now. Can we move on, please? Can we just move on? You go, what are you talking about? But let's focus on Peter Mandelson here. Peter Mandelson, and has failed upwards. He has had the most remarkable career for a man who is clearly financially and morally corrupt. All right. He is absolutely corrupt. So let's just go through just a quick recap of Mandelson. He was basically a spin doctor, a fixer in the party in the 80s into 92. In 92, he was finally elected as an MP for Hartlepool, so he becomes an MP. In 97, he's fast-tracked into Blair's government, and he becomes the minister without portfolio, which is in cabinet. And then in December of 1998, he has to resign because he forgot to declare a loan of £373,000 that he borrowed from Geoffrey Robinson, another minister, to buy a house. Just forgot. You know how it is. You know how it is. Like, you're busy and you're buying a house and you just sort of go, oh crap, I forgot to write it down. You know what I mean? Oh, that loan. I am so sorry that slipped my mind. You know how it is. You just forgot. So anyway, he has to resign. He is out. Okay, this is 98. Done. You are done. Go away. You're corrupt. Never see you again. 1999, less than a year later, he comes back into government. And this time you go, so what is he? Is he like licking ass? What is he doing? What kind of low kind of grovel your way back into favor? What are you doing? He's the Secretary for State for Northern Ireland. Like, that is an incredibly sensitive brief that he is given. So despite the loan scandal, he's back in there and he's Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. Okay. Less than 2 years later, he has to resign again because he's caught up in a cash for passport scandal. He basically helps Hinduja get British citizenship in exchange for, he put money into the Millennium Dome. So he put money towards the Millennium Dome. He gets a passport. Mandelson has to resign. And again, you go, right, you're out. I mean, that's 2 strikes. You are out, mate. You shouldn't be, you need to move on. Do something else. At that point you go, maybe public office isn't for you, okay? But no, Mandelson goes, I think I'm being underutilized. So he comes back again in 2004, but this time they're like, oh, he keeps screwing up in the UK. So I tell you what, why don't we make him the UK's European Commissioner for Trade? So we started Minister without portfolio, then we give him Northern Ireland, then we give him all of the trade with the EU. Like, he's going up and up and up. He then gets, in 2008, he gets a peerage. He comes back into cabinet as the business secretary. And this is what we discovered in the Epstein files. We discovered that while business secretary in Gordon Brown's government, he may or may not, and people are calling for this to be investigated. So the Met Police are already investigating whether he just leaked information from government. Basic, is that treason? Feels like it, but something like that. They're investigating whether he leaked information, because there are emails where he's literally said to Epstein, hey, this deal's happening. This deal where you can make money is happening. Hey, this is about to happen to the euro if you wanted to maybe get in on it. Okay. But not only that, he leaked financial information. So they want the FCA to come in and also investigate. I think at the moment the FCA are checking for scope. They're checking for scope. All right. And if it stays scope, then Starmer's okay, because right now Starmer is in a lot of hot water. But if this becomes a full-on blown, oh no, he did bad things, then we got to question, how in the world did you miss this when you were investigating whether or not he should be ambassador for the U.S.? And like I said, I still completely understand. On the surface, if you know none of this, and I'm going to be honest with you, back in July, I knew none of this. I can see why you would want that scumbag to be your ambassador to the scumbag of the U.S. I get it. You cannot take away the logic of using him if, you don't fully know everything, which is what Starmer's claiming. If Starmer just went, oh, I know that he and Epstein and Trump were kind of close back in the day. Maybe he's the Trump whisperer we all need. But this, he should have known. All of this, Starmer should have had some awareness of. Okay, he probably didn't know about the financial leaks and everything because that just came out in the Epstein files, but he definitely knew that he stayed friends with Epstein after he was a convicted pedophile. He definitely knew about Passportgate. He definitely knew about the undeclared loan, right? But have you noticed how much money, Mandelson, who clearly isn't good with money, I myself would love a £373,000 loan to buy a house. Totally am in a financial position to say yes to that. Same, I'm in a position to say yes to 75K being gifted to me periodically, as he was gifted by Epstein. Same, if somebody said, hey, do you want 10 grand for one of your kids to maybe do a course in something? I'd be like, yeah, that would be great. I have none of that money. But do you know what? Because I have none of that money, I would never forget or go, oh, did somebody give me £75,000? I'd have to check that and get back to you. Like, that's not a drop in the bucket of my bank account. That drowns my bank account. You know, like I bank with people like Monzo, where if you have more than 80 grand in your account, you can't be with them anymore because you've got too much money, because they're not actually banks. Like, how do you just forget that? Anyway, so he gets a peerage. He's business secretary. Turns out, all the while, spilling state secrets and helping with, possibly helping with insider trading and all the rest of it. He then becomes First Secretary of State, Lord President of the Council, which is effectively like, one of the most senior figures in government. It's like just below, almost equal to the Prime Minister. Okay, he then leaves in the 2010s, and then he co-founds Global Council, which is an advisory lobbying group, which has been lobbying now for the past 15 years, various things, which we now need to go back and check. We really do need to go back and check all the things that company has lobbied, given what information he's privy to, given how he operates with sensitive information. And then Starmer brings him back in 24-25 to be the UK ambassador, but supposedly vets him. And this is the thing. This is why Starmer's in trouble. Starmer supposedly vets him and goes, I'm aware of your relationship with Epstein. That's not okay. Mandelson would have said, yeah, that's not a thing anymore. And Starmer goes, yeah, because he's dead. But I meant when he was alive, was it still a thing after? And Mandelson was like, no, not really. But also I'm gay. So even if he did do it, it was nothing to do with me. And then Starmer hires him. But then in September, he has to fire him because the first tranche of Epstein files come out that show that, according to Starmer, Mandelson lied about how close they were. And now the second tranche of release is showing that not only did he lie, but he also did some pretty dodgy things. Now Starmer had to admit in PMQs that he did know about the Epstein relationship. He's like, yep, he told me that. But he's maintaining that Mandelson lied. He's just like, well, we asked him and he lied. Here's the thing. When you're hiring someone that you already know is a bit dodge because you need him to go and relate to someone else who is super dodge, you don't trust what they say. Oh, but he lied to me. Really? You just sat down in a chair 1-to-1 over a cup of coffee and just said, hey, mate, just about Epstein. Yeah. What's that? And then the other guy goes, yeah, no, done. Totally. And you go, cool. Thanks for being honest with me. Your authenticity really means a lot. And then you hire him anyway. You get someone to friggin' check. You run background checks. So now Starmer's going, well, it was the background check guys that didn't really, I don't know. Well, maybe it was, there was paper, but it wasn't me. I just believed I'm just the Prime Minister. I get given a lot of paperwork. I just believe what I'm told. Okay? They just told me and I believed it because I'm a good guy, right? I'm an honest, simple guy. My dad's a tool maker. I just believe what I'm told, and they told me it was fine. I was lied to. I'm the victim here. I'm the victim. Seriously, Starmer. So anyway, now this is being used to possibly unseat Starmer, which is, let's be honest, a little bit exciting. Who doesn't love a coup? Even if it's just a little internal party coup. Who doesn't love a coup, okay? Coups are always for the better. So this is going to be interesting to follow through. So Starmer, of course, it's been demanded that he release all of the paperwork involved in the background check of Mandelson. But then Starmer's gone, yeah, totally open to that. Yeah, of course. State secrets. I'm so sorry. I can't release everything. But how about, because I'm a good guy and I am open to this process, how about if we release the papers we can release to you, but anything that's state secret, we're going to put through a committee. We're going to put it through like a security committee. bullshit. I'm sorry, that's bullshit. That is him just trying to slow it down and obfuscate and just kind of go, oh well, they'll look at that over there and you can look at this here. He is swimming. He's falling upward story of this man. This is incredible. Just to finish the fact that, so Mandelson, he is disgraced. He's had to retire and get out of the House of Lords, right? They want his peerage back. They want him gone, dead, gone, out of politics. Sorry, not dead, not actually dead, but like out of politics. What does the Times magazine do? They do a cover piece on him. They have a picture of him in domesticity with his little doggy behind him just going, oh yeah, this is what it's like to cook in my... Is this the house that your £373,000 bought? Is it? That's nice. Isn't that nice? If only you'd actually just stayed there after you bought it. They do a piece on him. That is how all of the... And who owns the Times? I believe it is Murdoch. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it? It's one of the big ones. I think it's Murdoch owns it. But basically, rich white billionaire sees Mandelson being quite rightly hauled through the coals and hauled through the court of public opinion for being potentially a massive crook. And the Times do a piece on him and do a sympathetic piece on him where they do this. How do some people, and we're all expected to forget he was a barrister. Someone expected to get the truth. It's, you know what, quite right, Gary. The number of times that Starmer does something and you go, mate, you're a lawyer. Have you forgotten that you're a lawyer? Oh, is that the law? Oh, is that what it is? Well, I just believe, I'm just following the rule. I think you're going, dude, you were an intern. Like, when international law is broken by Trump, you, as an ex-international lawyer, are expected to be the first person to put your foot down and go, well, as someone with experience in this field, I can tell you that that's not okay. And he doesn't do it. He just kind of sits there and goes, well, okay, so he did that, but maybe, but he, I guess. Right. Let's see what you all have to say. Very Johnson-esque. Yeah, it is kind of Johnson-esque, but Johnson kind of manipulates it for himself. See, that's the difference between Johnson and Mandelson, is that Johnson is very conniving and going, he's a slippery fish, and he goes, I need this, and he kind of works his way through politics like a shark. Okay, Mandelson does something wrong, disappears, and other people in power pull him back in again. The number of times, and let's be honest, apologies in advance. I know, hashtag not all white men, but all of the pulling back of Peter Mandelson into higher and higher positions of power has been done by white politicians or white men in power. Okay, they've just gone, oh, let's, even today I saw a headline, Lammy said, I warned him about Mandelson. So even there, we've got the racial divide of Lammy going, I didn't like him. I don't know if his black dart just was going, nope, but it's just constantly being pulled back. So, more lives than the Downing Street cat. He obviously sold his soul to the devil. He was at a crossroads. He used to play guitar and he just won't die, politically speaking. Do you think folks just misread the P off next to his name on the appointment list, much like Boris and F off? Well, that suggests that anybody's even reading anything. They're not reading anything. They're just it's classic old boys club, isn't it? Where they go, oh, you know who I met in the club the other day? I was in the club and old Petey, boy, why did I go from posh to not posh? That was not appropriate. I'm losing all my acting work just from this one little sketch, aren't I? Ran into Petey. Isn't he a good? Yes, he's a good egg. We should have him back. Oh, did you see what he did with Northern Ireland? What did he do? Nothing. It's still there. It's absolutely fine. Oh well, that's success then, isn't it? Yes. Why don't we give it? When then the EU? Did you see that? Do you know that the entire time that he was the EU Trade Commissioner, we traded with the EU? Well, that suggests he's a good egg. Good egg. Good at his job. Tell you what, let's send him over to the States. You know what? I bet you Mandelson in his pants can get Trump to do things in his pants that nobody else can get him to do. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Probably true. I'm guessing, Jared is guessing that I am not a member of the Peter Mandelson Appreciation Society. You know what? It isn't even Peter Mandelson himself. Like, Peter Mandelson, at some point, can no longer be held accountable for his actions if you keep putting someone who's just proven. He proved all the way back in 1998 that if someone gives him money, he's going to be illegal with it. He's going to do inappropriate things. I'm going to get given money and I'm not going to mention it. I'm just going to break rules. He showed you who he was in 1998. It's everyone else's fault by now that he is still involved. Right? And actually, do you know what? If he just stayed quiet in 98 and just went into that, house that he bought that's on the cover of Times magazine and just stayed there for 20 years until Starmer called him and said, I need a bit of a shitbag to be the ambassador to the US. Are you that shitbag? And then called him out. I think that we would have been less upset about this whole situation. We would have just gone, oh yeah, oh good, oh yeah, because they were mates, weren't they? That's not a bad idea. But also the background checks would have showed up nothing because he just borrowed £373,000 and just spent 20 years paying it back. But no, it's everybody else at this point. Everybody else who kept pulling him back and giving him power, access to information, more money. Like, the guy showed you who he was. When he vetted him, did he check he'd been spayed? Well, he doesn't really need spaying, does he? He needs shackling. Do the bloke voice. Okay, we'll do a bloke voice when we get to another opportunity. But yeah, so that's what's been happening. That's the big scandal. So Starmer is risking losing his job over this. Angela Rayner, did I not say a couple weeks ago, Angela Rayner did step down on purpose in order to be ready for a leadership contest. I think that front runners, who are we guessing? I'm thinking Angela Rayner, I'm thinking Wes Streeting. Now, Angela Rayner needs to get this HMRC investigation out of the way. She's still being investigated for the tax thing on the house, the stamp duty. That needs to kind of be cleared off of her slate. But then we've got Wes Streeting. Now, Wes Streeting to me is definitely a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't know about you, but I don't trust him. In fact, I trust him less than Starmer. I feel like Starmer still has this idea because he believes himself to be a good guy. And wait, hang on, can I find Starmer again? I can't, I've lost it. Starmer just wants to do, he's just there. He's like, I'm just here to follow. We're not flashy as a government. I don't know what that accent is. Okay, I had him. He's gone. He's left my body. Thank God. But he just wants to be considered. I just follow the rules and I just do the thing and there it is. It's in the nose. It's in the nose. Because Starmer his nose is always blocked because my dad was a tool maker, but he couldn't chisel holes into my nose so I could breathe. It's kind of like that. But he thinks himself a good guy. He thinks himself a rule follower. So I feel like that in some regards controls his behavior, even though he's an absolute dictator of the Labour Party, and he will stamp out anybody who risks opposing him. Wes Streeting, though, I don't know. I feel like if Wes Streeting came into power and became PM, like he would suddenly go, I'm a Tory. I was a Tory all along. Like Wes Street. I don't know. What do we feel about Wes? My Essex bloke voice is good. Essex bloke. Are any of them from Essex? Yeah, right. So Essex bloke. It's Wes Street in Essex. I don't feel like he is Essex, Is that Essex? Live, laugh, love. Yeah. Galloway always wants to be the cat. He doesn't have as many lives, though, does he, George Galloway? As George Galloway even... He spun off into his own party, the George Galloway Party. I don't even know where he sits on the political spectrum anymore. But we've got Angela Rayner. We do not have Andy Burnham because, of course, he is not in the running because he is not an MP at the moment. He's still mayor of Manchester and was not allowed to run in that by-election. So he's out of the running. So I feel we've got Rayner. We've got Wes Streeting. I think a couple other people are going to put their names in the hat. Do you remember Andrea Leadsom? Remember when bless her, she had two people that thought she'd be good, so she ran for a little while. But we'll see what happens. I want Rayner. I want Rayner. And I want Rayner just because she is so different and so much more what labor should be and was to many, many people for many, many decades. I'd love to have her. And I mean, honestly, like, yeah, isn't that crazy that I say that she needs to clean the slate with the that stamp duty thing? She resigned. She was misled. We saw that. She should have. Okay, so what she should have done is get more information about whether or not she should have paid the stamp duty. She has paid the stamp duty. She has admitted wrongdoing. I mean, in the big scheme of things, out of all of the scandals that have happened to MPs across government, this is nowhere near the worst of them. It's not as good as having a clean slate, nowhere near the worst of them. And yet, I'm saying that she better have a clean slate if she wants a hope of being elected. Because we put very strict rules on women that we do not put on men. Like, for example, I don't know, out of the blue, Peter Mandelson. You'll take Rayner for $40K. Okay, I feel that's phrased poorly, Shane. I mean, there are just so many different ways that one can interpret, I'll take Rayner for $40K. Take her out, take her out, take her out, take her, like reluctantly have her as, just so many ways that could be misinterpreted. But yeah. Oops. Let's quickly go through. Okay, so we've covered Mandelson. We've covered Epstein, a few other things. Trump wants to nationalize all elections. He's also sent the feds in to just literally grab the paper ballots from one of the election centers in Georgia. Georgia, of course, being one of the states where he lost the 2020 election. So he's bitter about how the election went down in Georgia, and he's convinced that there was voter fraud. So he sent the FBI in, not to say, give us your records, give us your spreadsheets. They have taken the physical ballots away from the election center, which is almost unheard of course. I mean, now I think it's safe to say we will never know what the true count is because the FBI will take it away. They may or may not count them. They may or may not destroy them. They will claim a particular number. It means that we lose our primary evidence and we have to rely on secondary evidence. Secondary evidence will be the spreadsheets that tallied all of the actual paper votes. It's just another desperate attempt on Trump's part to maintain control of a vast and sprawling country that has quite strong states' rights, and he's trying to take that away. He wants to control everything from federal government. But of course, I think he knows he's in trouble for the midterms. I think that we're going to see a shift back in the House and the Senate, probably the House and the Senate, back towards the Democrats. Let's see if Democrats can then grow some balls, because they're only just starting to complain about ICE violence and oversight and go, oh, maybe we shouldn't fund ICE. I mean, maybe that, bill where we give them money and let them do this, maybe we shouldn't fund it. That's where we're at now. I mean, okay, if you can believe this, we're only a year into Trump's 4-year term, but it's taken them a year to go, I think we should maybe do what we were elected to do and maybe put our foot down about this. So here's the thing with reform. Now, you could almost do your own reform party watch of the things that happen to reform and people in reform and just go going, who's been found to be a criminal this week? Who's been found to be in jail this week? It's funny how many people in the country are supportive of reform, and yet reform cannot find enough. A lot of those are just fed up Tories who are like, I'm sick of the Tories being ineffective. I'm not leaning into labor. I'm leaning towards reform. And they're just hardworking people, right? They're hardworking people who are struggling like everybody else with the cost of living. They've been told that it's because of immigrants. They've been told, that for whatever reason, we have this massive blind spot to the fact that it's actually rich billionaires who are screwing us all up the ass right now. And they think it's immigrants because of the rhetoric that we've been hearing over and over and over again. Really, Nigel Farage started it all way back in the beginning. But the fact is that reform is not going to be able to convert all of their council wins, because they run a lot, they run a lot of councils. They have to convert that to power in parliament unless they can prove that they can run a a council well. So reform-run Kent County Council, Jared, you're in Kent, aren't you? Oh, was that a Jeopardy thing? Oh, it was a Jeopardy thing. Love that U.S. female voice, like she's running out of batteries. Yeah, that's called vocal fry, and it's really like popular in SoCal, which is Southern California, and it's the fry, like at the bottom of the voice, like that's and right now that's sometimes how I feel the Democrats are. They just kind of they're like, oh my God, we should do something. Meanwhile, you've got tens of thousands of people protesting. San Francisco, LA, I mean, Minnesota obviously is a battleground right now for all of this ICE stuff, and it's not being reported on very much by main media. Minnesota, of course, by the way, being a battleground because Minneapolis itself has, I think, 500,000 people in it. Much easier city to it's a city that everyone knows and has heard of, but in terms of size, it's a more likely win than LA, which has millions of people in it. And so that's why it's kind of focused in a city where ICE has a chance of controlling it or winning it over. Of course, they're not. It's kind of actually not unlike what's happening in Ukraine, is that the fight back is much fiercer than they were expecting, and they're not gaining the ground that they were hoping to gain. But back to reform. Reform is request indicated that the cited projects had no business cases or secured funding and were vague budget appendix items, i.e. canceling future ideas and booking it as a win. So, yeah, good luck to you, Kent. I'm so sorry if you live in Kent. Good luck to you. They've just saved you £39.5 million by canceling ever having an idea in the future. I'm going to be honest with you, sounds like Kent. So that's what's happening with reform. I mentioned Ukraine briefly. Trump has said that he wants the war over by summer. He wants it done by summer. Obviously want it over. And from the point of view of just knowing that a deadline has been set, there's a certain amount of relief there if you're on the Ukraine side. But it does put a lot more pressure on Ukraine to concede. And the biggest thing that they're being asked to concede is territory, is to let the Russians keep what they've got. But then that would be a win, wouldn't it? That would reward Russia for the entire campaign, which is completely unacceptable. In terms of Russia, the deadline means that it means that they can now sort of negotiate things like, well, let me keep the land, but I'll give you back, security and the rest of it. It just creates, it creates a pressure. But the problem is that if it's not over by summer, what's Trump actually going to do? Do you know what I mean? Like in reality, what's it going to do? I mean, so for Russia, it's the incentive to trade process for concessions, but then stall until Ukraine has no choice but to go take the land. It's obviously, so it's better for Russia than it is for Ukraine, although from Ukraine's point of view, just having a deadline, light at the end of the tunnel. But what's Trump actually going to do if they don't finish this by June? I mean, what has he done so far? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The EU, of course, have agreed to a 90 billion euro, I would assume, loan to Ukraine. So the EU has stepped up and they're being more supportive. But still, for some reason, it's Trump that's got the power to say stuff, or it's still Trump that has the power. I don't know. I would have said a few years ago, Trump and Putin, I mean, they were bestie buddies, but now, like, if the EU just came in and just said enough is enough, is it because Germany's still using Russian gas? Didn't they get over that? I genuinely, like, I just don't know. I help me out here. Like, great, there's a deadline, but it means, like, it's like it's a line in the sand, but you've drawn it right next to the waves. So the waves are just going to come in and just wipe out that line. So there's a timeline pressure, but what's the actual pressure? What's going to happen? it's just posturing, isn't it? What else? Taco. Yeah. Well, although interestingly, so this week Trump tweeted or Truth Socialed, I believe, a post which put Barack and Michelle Obama's heads on bodies of monkeys, which of course is probably, I would say, equal to just, why not just use the N word? Why not just refer to them as the N word in your post? He took it down. So he did take it down because people went, that's not getting the reaction he was hoping for, but he's not apologizing for it. And he's blaming it on everybody else. Again, why am I saying this? It's like, where's the surprise there? Where's the surprise? So he does back out. He does taco, but he does chicken out. But have we figured out the pattern of when like international pressure? Yes, this kind of cultural pressure. He's not backing down. He's not apologizing. Is there no HR department in the White House? No. He tore it down to build a ballroom. Of course there isn't. So, is there anything else? Well, I mean, Taiwan is drill fatigued. They've been doing a lot of drills. But the problem is, and this is kind of the pressure that China's been putting on Taiwan, they want them to get to a point where they're so fatigued that they're not ready, they're not primed for an attack from the Chinese, which of course is exactly when the Chinese will attack. So, but they've just been practicing, defending themselves, and they're tired. They're absolutely tired. The opposition-led parliament stalled President Lai's proposed $40 billion additional defense spending and advanced a smaller alternative that does not fund all planned U.S. armed purchases. So they're even saying we'll buy fewer weapons. So they're really, really tired. But that's what happens when you're living in constant fight-flight mode. With just someone putting that constant pressure on you. And I mean, I know this is the news we've all been waiting for. North Korea, they're going to have a Workers' Party Congress in late Feb. Yeah, it's going to include North Korea, Russia, and China. So that's funsies. Let's see what they're going to be trading and going back about. I mean, essentially, they're going to all sit there and just go, do you want some missiles? Yeah, I'd love some missiles. I'm making missiles. Do you want missiles? I use missiles. I love missiles. Do you want some missiles? I have some missiles. How about you? Oh, yeah, I'd love that. Dumpling anyone? Like, I feel like that's going to be the entire Congress is just, hey, who makes them? Who wants them? Who knows what they're actually going to say, but just the fact that it's happening, the fact that they're being treated as if normal members of the world stage. And it's just another way that we got a minute left. How can we lift this up out of the bin fire that we've kind of been, I feel like I've been stoking the bin fire with various bits of crumpled up main media newspaper. What else? This week, I am in Durham, Much Wenlock, and Swindon. Those are my 3 places that I'll be visiting this week. I'm also recording Comedy Club Extra, which will then go out starting Saturday, I think the 21st. So if you listen to Radio 4 Comedy Club Extra, I will be hosting that from the 21st. So that's something else to look out for. I know. Today at 4, I asked if people were available for the Editor's Choice. Ask Me Anything, 4 o'clock. I've confirmed that. There is a Zoom link up. So if you're an Editor's Choice and you want to come to the Ask Me Anything, that's at 4. Is that still okay for everybody? That's happy. Yay, we found a happy thing. If you're good for that, I'll see you at 4. Are we good for that? Shane had a good night with Chloe Petts and a Dalek. Shane, you were very good at the cliffhangers. We're all going to look forward to hearing about Chloe Petts and a Dalek. I hope that's not in a Epstein Files kind of way, where you and Chloe's faces have not been blacked out, but the Dalek has a little black line across its eyes. Not eyes. Thing. All right, great. Thank you, James. James was at Billericay. He said last night's show was great. It was fun, but it was also fueled by cherry Coke. Folks, it's been as always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming. I'll see some of you at 4 o'clock. I will see the rest of you next week for 10:30. let's see what the next week brings. All right. Let's see if this bin fire turns into a dumpster fire, turns into an alley fire, turns into a, oh my goodness, we're going to have to change this from Paper Jam to, like a watch party. We're just going to sit here and watch Care Bears or just something to take our minds off of it. But you have a great week, and thank you as always, and I will speak to you soon.